Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Ride Option Podcast. Hello. It is 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row. I get to talk to Jason Aponte. You guys are all jealous because I get to talk to my friend about the 49ers, and you have to listen. This is a new episode of the Sprint Ride. I don't know why I was so aggressive, though, but to be honest. New episode of the Sprint Ride Option Podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini. We're going to reuse jokes. A person I would not slap at the Oscars. We're done. No more Will Smith jokes, please. Jason Aponte, do my right. Jason, how you doing today?
That better be it. Or otherwise, I'm gonna write a letter to HR. All Will Smith jokes to the Oscars have been wrapped up. Thank you for understanding. Signed management. Done. No, shout out to everybody that's in here, man. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, join the Spicy Squad so you can call in on our call-in shows and everything as well too. But yeah, I also get to speak to Andrew Pasquini for 2 straight days and talk about words that were said by other people, and then use words to describe those words. Is that the joke we're going with? That's the running joke.
Yeah. No, that's the running joke we got. I've never seen a meme die or be born and die as quickly as the Will Smith meme. I'm over it. We're done talking about it as we continue the conversation today too. We are here to talk about more words, as Jason said, because Kyle Shanahan, our friend, not our friend, we don't know him, but somebody I like to pretend I'm friends with, Kyle Shanahan, spoke today, and he had a lot of topics he spoke about today. And I mean, I feel like we're just diving in too fast. I feel like I haven't heard about your day enough yet, Jason. Like, I don't know, man. Jersey, did the Nets win today? Like, what are we talking about here?
The Nets are in Brooklyn. There's no New Jersey basketball team. And even when they were here, they weren't from New Jersey. What I noticed today is my coach is sleepy.
Oh yeah.
And how much of that has to do with the time change? How much has to do with what happened last night? How much has to do with answering the same question for months? I think it's all of them. And my coach was up at my time, 8 o'clock, 8:15 in the morning, Eastern time, talking about something that he's spoken about for months and months and giving answers. And first thing that jumped out at me was, man, this man looks tired.
Yep.
This man looks sleepy. And
I'm not going to say the Sprint Ride Option Podcast moves the timeline, but we say we're tired a lot. Kyle Shanahan out there looking and sounding tired. Does Kyle Shanahan listen to the Sprint Ride Option Podcast? Somebody should have asked that today. He might have said yes, because he's taking our gimmick. He's taking our gimmick of being tired.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you watch some of the clips, it's the best part is he's reaching for the coffee, and it's like he wants to pull it to himself and drink, but he's still intently listening to these long questions. Like, he's like, okay, I think I got it. He brings the coffee like right here, and he just puts it back down, and he's just still stoned, like looking in. So a lot of body language things that I noticed before we get into the actual words that were said.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely one of those guys where like I'll look like I'm listening, because like sometimes I don't listen. ADHD, it's cool and all that stuff, and I'll reach for something. And then I'll be like, does it look like I'm listening still? So I stop the reach because it feels like I'm not listening. Dude, listen, I feel it. I feel Kyle Shanahan. I feel how tired they are, because it is, it's got to be exhausting, right? Like, it really has to be exhausting to answer these questions every day and in every different way. I feel like what they should start doing is just answering them differently each day. And I think they kind of done that to where they just obviously answer it differently every time.
Well, the good news is that, we have quotes from Kyle Shanahan. We have quotes from John Lynch. We also have quotes from Jed York as well, too, which I felt were very important as well, too. But I think we should leave that one for when we get to the topic of, yes, we'll say his name, Jimmy Garoppolo, and that discussion, because Jed York was really talking about that more than anything. I mean, I'm sure he had other questions asked. I didn't really get to see too many other clips that were out there, but Jed York was also speaking. So it's going to be interesting to take what Lynch said, look at it, take what Kyle said and look at it, take what Jed said and look at it, and try to figure out where's the similarities, who's on the same page, who's just saying things. And I think that's what makes this exercise so fun, especially when we get a chance to break down all of these words.
Well, we killed 5 minutes. People are finally here. Hopefully we killed enough time. So I think it's time to dive into the quotes. And we are going to start with the hot topic, the 49ers quarterback position. This is what Kyle Shanahan had to say. All the questions are answered about Brian Griese. Yes, he talked about the quarterback position, Brian Griese. He had a couple things to say. Quote, I personally think he was the smartest football player I've been around. The way that he prepares, how organized he was, as detailed as a guy I've ever been around. And I thought he was a guy who could bring something different to the quarterback position. And then he went in a little deeper. We thought it was neat to bring in somebody who could bring something a little bit different. We kind of have a partnership in there where we all can offer a little bit of different stuff. I love that Trey has someone that has been through the battle. I can tell him about it and what I've seen with guys, but someone who's actually had to go through the ups and downs and have the pressures of having a good game, then throwing a pick that loses the next game, how to deal with the media, how to deal with the NFL season. I think it's hard to find a player that's done it at such a high level that's willing to go through the commitment and stuff. Brian seems all on board. We've had him here for a month, and it's been great. I pulled that quote because I think it's interesting. It's the first time they've really addressed the Brian Griese hiring, because that is one that came out of nowhere. I finished an episode of whatever TV show I was watching, very confused that Brian Griese was the Niners quarterback coach. But it's about what you'd expect. He heavily leaned on the, hey, he's played in this league, he knows what he's talking about, and see if maybe it works as an NFL coach, because it's I know it's two different things to play quarterback and be a quarterback and coach quarterbacks. Because I mean, we've seen cases where we've had the conversation before where guys like Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky, not necessarily successful on the behind the scenes aspect of it, but obviously all-time greats in their sport. So not much really to be said on top of that, really, just because it's interesting. It is the first time they've touched on Brian Griese being the quarterback coach.
Well, I think it's very interesting. And here's clue number one of the plan moving forward at quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm glad Trey has him. Not Trey and Jimmy, not Jimmy. I'm glad Trey has him. Clue number one, Trey Lance moving forward. Let's everybody relax. We'll get to all the other things. That's clue number one. Plenty of things that Kyle Shanahan said during this session will put you in the right direction. That's not me picking apart a line. That is what he said. It's almost a Freudian slip. Does that sound like a guy that you're not prepared to move forward with? No. Clue number one, Trey is your guy. Mention him by name. I am glad Trey has him. Teaches him about how to be a quarterback. He's not talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not talking about Nate Sudfeld. He is talking about Trey Lance. Clue number one, Trey Lance is going to be your starter in week one. Let's continue on that train.
Well, and also too, and I don't know if I haven't read all the quotes I've copy and pasted, at least thoroughly. I picked up the things. Didn't he say something like, yeah, I don't really hang out with Jimmy, but Trey and I, we're friends. We hang out. We talk all the time. Yeah, so that's another thing, and maybe that could be the familiarity with Garoppolo and all that stuff, and he's welcoming in a second year quarterback. I don't know, man. It's fun. This is why we have these podcasts, Jason. We have the leeway to read in between the lines on this stuff because this is what we do. We talk about things, and yeah, man. You know what? This is why Jason Aponte is the best on Twitter. Is I read that quote. I literally just read that quote to you guys. I didn't even pick up on that. Jason's sitting here like, notice how he didn't mention the other quarterback's name, and that's why we're a duo. That's he. I throw the oops, the alleys. He oops it down. So there you go. Is that all we want to talk about on Brian Griese? I just thought it was interesting, just because it's really the first, as I said, the first time we've heard anything said about Griese as a whole.
Yeah, and I think that all of those things that you said are true. It's good to hear what the mind frame is. It's good to understand what he's thinking. For him to heap praise and say he's one of the smartest guys, it's the reason that he kept Mike McDaniel around for so long. And when you look at the track record of coaches the 49ers have been able to not only hire but grow, you have to feel good about this, just because they really don't miss at this point. I mean, Richard Hightower was not one of their better coaches. He moved on and got a new job. So it's usually that these guys, when they get into the league, whether that's because I was, working with Kyle Shanahan, because we all know that everybody's looking for the next Shanahan. Is, if you got in the elevator with Kyle, you got to interview most likely at a building, things like that. But if you look at the way this group has churned out coaches, whether they're homegrown, brought in, I didn't know what to make of it. That's why when I put that out there, when Brian Greasy got hired, I literally put in a tweet, I don't know how to feel about this.
Yeah.
And people were like, you're being so negative. No, I was literally telling you, I have no idea what to make of this. And not good, not bad. Sometimes it's okay to tell people, I don't know, as opposed to just pulling something out of your ass and just saying that. Like I didn't know where they were going with it.
No.
That's all. This gives me some sort of clarity. And it's not that I never had confidence that he would do a great job, because based on the track record of coaches, that's hard to argue, and it's hard to predict that he won't be good at his job. But it was just about, I had no idea. Normalize saying I don't know sometimes, guys, and you might get a little bit farther.
Yeah, and it's okay to not know, because let's be honest, Brian Greasy, not only has he never been an offensive type coach, never has he been an offensive coordinator, never has he been a quarterback coach. He's never coached in the NFL, period. So that's another reason why it just kind of came out of nowhere, especially because I know everybody has their opinion on Scrangello and all that, and he went to Kentucky, whatever college he went to. He's had experience, and he's a known commodity in the NFL, where Brian Greasy, like we just kind of know him as a decent NFL quarterback and a kind of average play-by-play guy on ESPN, or color commentator on ESPN. So it definitely was something that I don't think anybody really knew. If people had strong opinions one way or the other on the hiring, they're probably lying to you, because there was no opinions to be had. As a car drives by my street at a solid 70 miles an hour. So yeah, I'm just happy that somebody asked about it, and we kind of got some insight behind the hiring. Another commodity that hasn't really been talked about much, and this is a shorter. We got two short quotes before we get into the meats and potatoes. Once again, obviously the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo stuff.
Please stop using that. Plethora is good. Plethora is good. I think we need to retire that other one.
Meat and potatoes?
Please.
Okay, we'll get into the bulk of the episode. Is that better?
Love it.
Are you hungry? Is that what's going on? You just hungry?
No. I'm not actually. I'm not hungry at all.
Aaron Banks. He was asked about Aaron Banks. Quote, if you asked me halfway through the season if he was going to be playing, I would have said yes. And things just started clicking for our team, so I didn't want to mess it up. Quote, but he's ready to go. Not much there. It's a quote. It's interesting to hear him say that he thought he would have been playing last year, as deep into the season as halfway through the season. So we're talking about week 9. And what is that? That's around Chicago time, that he thought Aaron Banks was going to play, and he didn't. And I guess this is another quote that I just pulled because I thought it was interesting. But there's not much to it. I'm assuming maybe that does. Let's read in between the lines, as we do on this podcast, Jason. Does that mean he's the left guard? Is that what we're taking? Just because he said I would have said yes? Is this his way of saying yes? He's the starting left guard at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an easy bet, especially when you're talking about natural position. I think that was the assumption across the fan base, across the world, basically. That's why it may not be to your liking. You let DJ Jones walk, you let Lakin walk, but you have two guys, and this is the next guy that you'll talk about right after, that will step in immediately to those positions. Now you just have to hope you get production from them because they are homegrown. But yeah, I think that the interesting part of this one was when Daniel Brunskill was actually struggling, there was actually a thought process that Kyle Shanahan had of him playing. And again, I hate to be that guy, but for so many people that say things in absolutes and with their whole chest, well, Banks is just not progressing. That's why he's not on the field. Well, how do you know? Did you go to practice? Did you go? Are you at practice? Do they even tell you anything? No, they're not saying anything about him. Don't assume so much. So that's the thing. It's, well, he's just not taking the strides that Shanahan wants. How do you know that? Are you literally watching the practice when none of the media can be there? No, you don't know that at all. So it's good to hear that, because so many people want to throw the label bust on people, even though they haven't played, because I think he's a victim again of his draft class. When you're drafted in the second round, people automatically assume you to be plug and play. But what happens if you have two really good guards and you get to sit a year? Sounds like a situation that we're about to get into as well. So that's the thing, is stop speaking in absolutes about things that we don't know yet about, especially when it comes to player development, because you have no way of knowing that unless somebody says something in the news. If Kyle Shanahan Shanahan comes out and says, hey, listen, Aaron Banks isn't playing because he's not where we want him to be right now. He said it about Brandon Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk is far more decorated in this league than he is, right? He had that first season, and we think the world of him, but he's not afraid to say things in the media. So it's not like he's protecting the kid or anything like that. He speaks his mind. But for people to already label Banks, oh, bust, I don't know if he's going to work out. I don't know if he's progressing. How do you know that? That's always going to be the question that I'm going to ask other people.
We're very impatient nowadays. It seems like we're really excited to give players the bust label when there's really nothing to give the bust label on. We're going to talk about Javon Kinlaw. People talking about him as a bust as well already because he's missed a season. He's missed a season plus at this point. How do we know that? And I think not to dive too deep into our text conversations, but I feel like we had this whole conversation yesterday of how do you decide the value of draft picks and all that. When we had a great conversation with Brian and Tim of the Denim Dungeon, and it's way too early to say players like Aaron Banks and Javon Kinlaw are bust because of their lack of playing time or their injury. It's too early, man. Like we don't know what Banks is going to be at left guard. Maybe right guard wasn't his thing because that's the position people predicted him to start at last year. So maybe left guard does work and he figures it out because and me saying figure it out, it's not even the right way to say it because we don't even know what there is to figure out yet. We don't know what he is at the NFL level. We have an idea that he should be solid. He's a second round pick. The Niners obviously have high hopes for him. But to say he's a bust because he didn't have a chance to play yet is that. Emiliano, thank you for the comment. People have their periscopes out looking over the fence at these practices, Jason. That's how they know Banks isn't progressing and that Lance is a bust. There you go. So Emiliano, inside source guy. We love it. We love to see it. But yeah, no, it's that type of stuff, man. How do we know Aaron Banks is a bad pick? We don't. We just don't. And that's right. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Absolutely. We can have this conversation in February of 2023. We'll table the discussion of if Banks is worth the pick. We'll table it.
Absolutely. I think that's a good transition to the Javon Kinlaw quote, if you have it up, since we're already talking about him.
I do. Javon Kinlaw, a man who said on Brad Graham's show that he was in the best shape of his life. Quote, this is Kyle Shanahan's quote, by the way. Don't want to lose track of where we're at. Kyle Shanahan on Javon Kinlaw. He said, quote, I see him every day working outside my window. This is the healthiest I've seen him since he's been here. And I really think he's fixed some things that were issues. And I'm as excited for him as anyone. I think it's cool. He sees him every day outside his window. That's a great way to start any conversation of, I just see him out my window. I look out my window. I see this guy walking. I don't know how good he's looking, but it's cool that Shanahan's noticing. I guess that's my point. Is people are seeing how hard he's working, how hard because that's all he's got right now. We still don't know what Javon Kinlaw is because of the injury last year and the injury in his rookie season. But this is very high school mindset. It's good to know though that somebody of importance is noticing how he's looking. So it's a good sign. March 29th.
Javon Kinlaw is more just a victim of who he's replacing at this point and the draft capital, right? Like a lot of 49er fans have a bad taste in their mouth about moving Buckner for that pick and then replacing him with someone who plays the same position and people believing that would lead to that similar production right away, which was already foolish. And then you throw in the injuries and that's why people have this bad taste in their mouth right now about Javon Kinlaw. But for me, again, I think going back to Andrew's point, we don't know yet. It may take him a little bit longer. If he's healthy this entire year and plays well, I think everybody forgets those other 2 years and all those sort of, I guess, criticisms fade away. He just has to put it together, be healthy. I mean, when the guy's on the field, he's an excellent run stopper. That's exactly what DJ Jones was as well, too. I mean, DJ Jones was just the best in the league when you look at certain metrics. But that's exactly what Javon Kinlaw was. He was doing that immediately the day that he walked in the door. So it's the injuries more than anything, but if he's in the best shape of his life, he definitely needs to take some weight off of that knee, which is the problem, right? I believe it's arthritic or it's something like that. I forget what it is, the actual condition. But if he's lighter on his feet, as long as he's healthy and he's playing well, I think this is his really big chance because he's going to get his entire shot at playing this entire time with nobody really in his way outside of people that will spell him. But he'll be the starter and he'll have his chance right in front of him. So it's not a make or break year, but this is a big year for Javon Kinlaw. That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, and he showed flashes his rookie year. I mean, we were high on him when he was playing, and we were high on him going into last year. And hopefully he can continue the trend. You know, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be an important player on that defense. You know how important that middle defensive line spot is for the 49ers. They have guys that can stop the run very consistently. They were lucky and they got a unicorn type player who's very good in the run and the pass that DeForest Buckner was. Obviously, they're missing a little bit of it, but I really do believe that if everything's healthy and you have a combination of Kinlaw and Armstead on the inside getting consistent snaps together, I mean, you have the pieces of the Frankenstein monster that is DeForest Buckner. So why can't that be successful? So we really got to see what they look like together and fully judge there. I'm really excited for Kinlaw, man. It really feels like, I mean, how do I word this? He feels like with what he was in his first year and losing him all of last year, you could almost treat him as like, if he's back and healthy, he is the Niners' first round pick this year because you didn't see him much last year and you didn't see him much in his rookie year. So if he can stay healthy and he can produce, I mean, that's a piece you didn't have last year. And that's something the Niners are going to need, especially with DJ Jones gone.
Yeah, and this is no disrespect to Javon Kinlaw because of how good DJ Jones was last year. I forgot for a little bit that Javon Kinlaw was on this team, and the time that I remembered was when I started going through the Week 3 game, the home opener before the divisional matchup with the Packers. I saw this giant man spin off of two guys and have a run stop, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Javon Kinlaw. Oh yeah." So it's almost like you have found money in that way, and yeah, I think that it just goes to show how deep this line was in the fact that we're excited about a guy who has been here for 2 years already, has been largely injured, but we all understand the impact that he can bring if he can just stay on the field. And yeah, I think that's part of the thought process in letting DJ Jones walk is we have a guy that can step in right away that has proven when he's on the field that he makes impact. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Javon Kinlaw. Good to hear that he's in good shape, and Coach wouldn't lie about that, right?
No, never, ever. Everything's the truth. Always the truth. Never lies. All right, let's get into the bulk of it. This is why the people are here. This is why we're talking. Four more quotes. I believe I have 5 quotes left. Some of them are kind of hybrid. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. Some of them are Jimmy Garoppolo quotes. So we'll start with this one. Quote, that's why we look into trading Jimmy, because we obviously believe that Trey could be a starter and we're ready to do that. But if we can't upgrade our team in another way, we're not just going to get rid of a good quarterback because we have other quarterbacks on the roster. Quarterbacks are really hard to come by. Some teams don't have any at all. And the fact that we have 3, hey, we talked about that yesterday, 3 quarterbacks that we're happy about, that is a good thing. And my instant quote, man, like I don't think I agree with him. Because listen, as I said, if Jimmy Garoppolo is on this roster, he's not your backup, right? He's not your backup week 1 because of the money. This is spoken of a man who is very tired of having to go to the Nick Mullins and the CJ Beathard's of the world to be his backup quarterback. Because that's just how I take that quote is maybe unintentional shots fired at those two because of his background with backup quarterbacks and having to run back with them. Him saying that just sounds like a man tired of having to talk about the backup quarterback position just in general.
Yeah, and again, clue number 2. This is why we look into trading Jimmy Garoppolo. We obviously feel good about Trey moving forward. There's clue number 2, guys. And everything else that he said was matter of fact in terms of a lot of teams wish they had that many good quarterbacks. That's matter of fact. I don't think that pushes you in the direction of, oh my God, they're running it back and they're just going to bring this guy back. I think that what Kyle said was a very matter of fact response without leading you one way or the other and not hurting any feelings or anything like that. Again, and when you hear him say, yeah, we're ready to move forward with Trey Lance as the starter, that's all you really needed to hear. After that, anything else that he says is just matter of fact stuff, that they have 3 quarterbacks on the roster currently, and they feel good about that. I don't know whether they really feel good about that. I mean, his body language and his face wasn't telling you that he feels good about that. It doesn't always have to be words, but at the same time, I think that, again, I'm going to focus in on clue number 2. This is why we look to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're obviously ready to move forward with Trey as a starter, and we feel good about that. As close to as an endorsement as you're going to get at this point. And again, just listen listen to the words, and then everything else, if you interpret them the right way, they're all just matter-of-fact statements. You're starting to see the picture now. And he's just right now, again, we talked about this yesterday. What they're doing is they're going through possible scenarios. It doesn't mean that they're likely. They're scenarios. So you cover your bases when you talk about all those scenarios. Possibly when he gets his arm right, we'll move him. Possibly he might be at camp. Possibly he might be on this roster. Again, likely, possible, not the same thing at all. They're just scenarios, and that's all they're really talking through at this point. But when you listen to Kyle talk, there's much more an indication where John Lynch was steadfast and not saying anything about Trey Lance, that Kyle keeps slipping up and saying things about Trey being next. That's why I'm not hot right now. I am not hot. Why would I be upset?
I mean, you're always hot.
When I heard what he said, I said, good job, coach. Great answer. There it is. You don't have to give anything away. You don't have to go over the top. You literally just say the things that are true and matter of fact, and there it is. Boom. It's right there in front of you. So again, all this hoopla about, oh my God, he's coming back. It's March 29th. I'm gonna keep standing on that. And right now they're just going through scenarios. That's it.
And even too, you mentioning how much John Lynch jumps around the committing to Trey thing, and Shanahan's just very open about it. It does lean, and this is just pure speculation from Andrew here. It's one of those things that maybe there's a little credence to the thought that John Lynch was a Mac Jones guy and Kyle was the Trey Lance guy. And I think it kind of opens a little bit into that door as well, right? Is because Shanahan seems very open to talk about Trey Lance and what he thinks about him, where John Lynch is very timid and doesn't want to commit one way or another. So maybe that's reading between the lines a little bit, but that's why we're here, Jason.
Yep, I felt way better that when I saw that quote. I couldn't retweet it with anything other than great answer, coach. Way to go. Happy. There you go.
Jason Aponte, our top 1% content creator on OnlyShans. So, Jason, I'm about ready to read a quote, and I think this is the quote. If I was reading a book and I had to highlight the quotes I thought were important, this is the one I'd highlight, circle. If you're doing anything right now and you're kind of passively listening to this podcast, this is where I need your ears to perk up, because I think this is the most factual thing Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch has ever said. Just reading it, and I want to see if Jason agrees with me. Quote, we brought Trey here to be that eventually, and I think that he will be that sooner or later. But when Jimmy gets his surgery and we can't upgrade our team by getting some good picks until people feel good about that surgery, I'm all right with that. We're not just getting rid of him to get rid of him. Jimmy is a good player that we all really like as a person and a teammate, and we're going to wait to see whatever helps the Niners the most. Where's the lie? There is no lie in that quote.
Nope.
He said people just think, and this is my issue with the whole Jimmy Garoppolo haters and the lovers, all this stuff is there's no middle ground, is that the people that are on the hater side thinks there's no value to him and they just need to cut him right away. There is value in him. And I think Kyle Shanahan says that here is we're not just going to get rid of him because we feel like getting rid of him. The Niners know there's value in there. Somebody's going to try and trade from one way or another. Right now is not the best time because of the shoulder surgery, but they know there's value there. They're just not going to cut him, man. And that's what it is.
And also, because it seems that the 49ers have their sense of value on Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever that is. And we don't know what that is. I don't care what Mike Florio says. I don't care what reports are floating out there. We don't know what their value. But I know that it's not that they're just valuing the cap space at this point. And again, if you can't pass a physical, you owe him $7.5 million, and that's probably something that they deem valuable as well too. They feel if they can sit for a little while longer and clear out all that money and not have to give him anything, it's a really good thing. Now, the flip side to that, and is where the pushback is coming from everybody, is all the free agents will be signed. Okay, listen, I can't argue with you there. But what I'm talking about is what they're thinking at this point. Also, if you are looking to get set value for Jimmy Garoppolo, you're not going to say, man, when he gets right and he gets healthy, we're going to cut him and we're getting him out of here. Like, you have to effuse praise on him and make it seem like this guy will be a part of your team, because then no team has an incentive to trade for him at all. So you don't say, hey, when he gets healthy, we're cutting him because we want to save that money and everything as well. And then, everybody can have their chance to go get him and not have to give any draft capital up. I think that the 49ers have a certain amount of value that they have on him. How many draft picks? I don't know, but it's clear that they want draft picks for him in agreement with losing all of that. I mean, clearing out all that cap space money. So they have their plan. They're sticking to it. Again, I don't always agree with the plan, but sometimes the plan works, and that's the point. Again, I didn't agree with the plan to play Jimmy Garoppolo last year. Look, they made the NFC Championship. It is what it is, but this is where they're at right now at this point, and I don't think that he could have said anything different than what he said at this point.
Well, and this is why I like doing the live shows, is people comment and we get to read the comments on how certain things can be read. Emiliano here pointing it out. What a just the language on we're just not just getting rid of him to get rid of him is just such an aggressive way to say that. He could have said we're not going to move him just to move him. We're not going to trade him just to trade him. We're not, obviously not going to say release. There's a lot of different ways to say that, but the wording of we're not just getting rid of him to get rid of him. Interesting language choice. That's all.
Yeah. And again, you have to say all of those things, otherwise teams will know once he gets cut that he must have passed a physical. That's it. Now we can just go after him. And there is this thought process. I know everybody doesn't want to hear it. Ian Rappaport was talking about it today on NFL Network about when you get to OTAs or something like that, and a quarterback goes down, and now all of a sudden Jimmy Garoppolo, it's just one of the scenarios, right? So I think that they have afforded themselves enough time now. It's March. I know everybody wanted this done. I think they wanted it done as well, too. I think that that's the reason that they have to answer all of these questions with the same sort of tone and talk about it in the same way in terms of that, because unfortunately he is still here and they didn't believe he would be. But at the same time, they've afforded themselves time to see how things unfold. And I think one of the possibilities is that Jimmy just gets cut, but that would have to be after they exhaust every other single scenario that involves a trade and facilitate that for Jimmy Garoppolo, because it's clear that they want to do right by him. And I think that they have a little bit of an agreement in terms of, hey, thank you for being so good last year in terms of everything. We're not going to send you to Cleveland. I'm just giving. We're not sending you to Jacksonville or something like that, right? Like, we're not going to send you to some terrible organization. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's in play as well too. But the surgery thing is really what started holding this up, on top of all the things that we talked about yesterday, with all the other dominoes falling in the way that they did, which is something that the 49ers and the NFL world didn't foresee happening.
Yeah, and we're about ready to dive into some of the Jimmy. Just the quotes he had about just Jimmy alone, not just Trey. There's 116 people here right now, and if all 116 could go subscribe to the Sprint Red Option podcast on Spotify, on Apple, on Google, wherever you get your podcast, I would appreciate it. I know Jason would appreciate it, because if you can't listen to us live, that's where you can find the recordings of all these episodes. Go find Sprint Red Option podcast on wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe. Unsubscribe, resubscribe, download, undownload, then download again. That's the order you got to do it. It's just how it works. Kyle Shanahan, just some quotes on Jimmy Garoppolo. Quote, everything's good with Jimmy. Anytime someone gets a surgery, especially on their throwing shoulder, teams are going to be a little more nervous with what they want to offer and things like that. So I think that did put it on hold, and we're all right with that. We went through the free agent period, so we had to make some adjustments and do some things like that. But we've got him on the books right now, and we'll keep it that way until something else can improve us. Kind of an open-ended finish there. The way that's worded is interesting. We'll keep it that way until something else can improve us. Is that Shanahan's way of saying maybe we're not, there's no free agent that impresses us right now, that we feel like we don't have to move off of him? Is that them closing the door on Tyrann Mathieu, on a Stephon Gilmore, a Julio Jones, dare I say? Is that their way of saying that, hey, if something else opens up in the future, if a certain player becomes available, that's when we'll make a move and make a panic move to try and free up the cap? I don't know. That's just a very open-ended finish. And I know it's moving away from the Garoppolo conversation, but I just thought that's a very interesting quote.
I think that it lends more to confidence. Like, hey, we're cool, man. You don't want this guy? We got him, and we'll hold on to him. And we're not in any rush to get rid of him or panic or anything like that and move off of him. So, it's almost like if you're a salesman and it's something that they teach you is a little bit of like, well, you can't have this. Well, I want that. No. But I mean, you really can't. Like, you really can't. Like, it's one of those things where you kind of the allure of like, well, why is he so confident to keep him? Aren't they in dire straits? But he's standing there in a cold manner telling you, hey, we're good. Until something comes along, we're not just going to make a move to make a move. We're not getting rid of him to get rid of him, anything like that. And now people will start to maybe change. At least people who are getting closer to a spot where they need somebody are going to say, you know what, man, I think we should go talk to him because he does seem confident. And again, he mentions the shoulder surgery. That's going to put, I don't care what anybody says. If I'm in the market for a quarterback and he gets a surgery on a shoulder, no matter how minor they describe it, and he is not as said earlier yesterday, I think it was BNA Music said it, and I thought that was a beautiful point. If he's not a top 15, top 12, top 6 guy, nothing like that had the surgery that you think he's going to bounce right back, then you can't make a move like that for a guy who is in that, 16 through 20 range on certain weeks, certain games with the shoulder surgery. Like, you just can't. It's just a matter of fact thing. If Aaron Rodgers had his shoulder injury and he was on the market or something like that, the team is still sending that trade right over. They're not worried about when he can throw. All accounts are pointing to the fact that Jimmy will be fine before training camp. He'll be able to throw the football. Doesn't really seem too much concern. There's much more concern around Mike McGlinchey's injury and how he'll bounce back than there is Jimmy Garoppolo's. So again, I think where you slot him at quarterback and then you look at the risk of the shoulder surgery, now here's where you are. He's not a top 12 guy, not a top 15 guy. And those guys you probably would make a move for right away because you'll say, hey, I think I have all the confidence that he'll bounce back. You have people look at him and everything. But when it comes to a guy who is 16 to 20 week to week, why would you make an investment like that? Why would you go ahead and just dump all your eggs in that basket? And I think that's the point of all of this as well.
And it's not even that he's a 16 to 20 guy. He's a 16 to 20 guy who most likely is going to stay at the 16 to 20 guy. That's the thing is you can make the argument that Jameis Winston is a 16 to 20 guy. You can make the argument, not so much, but you
16
can
to 20 with a large injury history. A guy who has missed 25 games in 3 years as well, too. And now his shoulders hurt. Come on, you can't make this. You can't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And yes, that's exactly that's the point I was going to is you can't do it. And you know what he's going to be. That's the other thing is he's not. Listen, there's a world that exists where he comes back from the surgery and he drastically improves. I don't think we live in that world, but it could happen. Anything's really possible, the kids say. So I think Kevin Garnett said it, not kids, but anything's possible. Jimmy Garoppolo can develop into a great quarterback, but right now, nobody wants to take that chance. Nobody's taking that chance because of the shoulder injury. And I think that's and we're gonna get into that again here with the last quote we have, but I think that's the key of the last 2 days. Everything John Lynch and everything Kyle Shanahan has said today is the shoulder injury is what messed everything up this offseason. And that's what it is. It is what it is. And I'm tired of the conspiracy theory that Jimmy did it when he did it on purpose. I just think it came down to they thought they could rehab it. It didn't rehab like they thought, and they had to do the surgery route because that's what's best for the player. Because at the end of the day, a player is going to do what's best for him, and whether or not you want to take it as a sign that he did it to screw the Niners, I guess sure you can do it. But Jimmy Garoppolo is going to do what's best for Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of the day, and the surgery was what was best.
Hey, they said that his arm's going to bounce back like Harry Rowan Gardner from Rookie of the Year, and I love that reference. I think that is so good. And if anybody has ever seen that movie, I'm going to drop 2 words for you: funky butt lovins. But anyway, listen, with the Jimmy Garoppolo thing, right? Like, again, we spoke about it yesterday, but we might as well reiterate it while we're talking about it. I do not believe that this was some sort of conspiracy theory where he did this on purpose or anything like that. Again, if you had to face therapy or surgery, 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times, you are going to choose therapy. And then if that doesn't work, then you'll get the surgery. I just think that's what it is. It was ill-timed, obviously, and it was not the best case scenario, but that's where we are at this point. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing else that needs to be said more than anything. I feel like we're talking about the same thing over and over again. But go to this next quote.
Last quote we got for the day, guys, and hopefully it's the last quote for a hot minute. Quote, Kyle Shanahan on Jimmy Garoppolo again, quote, "We're willing to do anything, the best we can do for the Niners. The good thing is we don't have to decide it today. We're trying to see what the best thing is for the 49ers. And having a good quarterback like Jimmy is not a bad thing. Being able to upgrade our roster by getting draft picks is a really good thing. What's the timeline on that? It's different when you get surgery. So that's what we're all dealing with. That's really as simple as that. Or that's really as simple as it is. And that makes all the sense in the world. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to net you draft picks. Draft picks are a good thing. You're not going to get draft picks if you release him. That's why they're not releasing him. And I think that's the simplest way you could put that quote.
Right. And also, I'm not trying to put any bad juju out there or anything like that, but there's God
Well, the
forbid,
Chiefs have him.
No. What happens if the other two quarterbacks injure themselves working out? And now what do you do? Now what do you do? Now Jimmy Garoppolo is an okay problem to have sitting around, because now he can just play free and clear because he has to play. So again, there's no real reason to just say go ahead and just cut him right now. Like cut him. Like
No.
That's the thing. And it's very matter of fact what's going on. The 49ers are playing this as safe as they can at this point, just because they have their value on Jimmy Garoppolo. And also things are unforeseen. Again, we didn't know we were going to be here on March 29th. They didn't think we would. On March 3rd, they thought they were going to be in a different place. That's why John Lynch said something on March 3rd. He said something on March 28th. Didn't really line up because things are changing. Things are fluid. And that's the point, is you can't make a rash decision just off of that, especially when it comes with a cap hit of $7.5 million, not knowing what could possibly happen down the line. You play this as long as you can. You hold them as long as you can until you get your value and you're completely set. I mean, at this point, I'm not even upset anymore. This is just a plan, and you just got to roll with it at this point.
Yeah, and I think the situation's a little different as well if the Niners aren't a good football team. If the Niners are 3-14 or 4-12 or whatever the math is last season, and they're looking to move off Jimmy Garoppolo, I think there's more of an urgency, right? It's this guy obviously isn't working, and we need to move off of him. We have a rookie quarterback. But whether or not, Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback in 2022, which it probably isn't, right? But if he is, the 49ers are a playoff team. And that's, I think, why there's no rush at this point, is they know whether it's Garoppolo or whether it's Lance, this team's probably going to go to the playoffs. And that's all you can ask for, is get into the dance and find out what happens. And so that's why I think everything's kind of changed from, oh my God, we need to move Garoppolo, to, okay, we're kind of fine with where we're at. We're fine with where we're at. And I think that's kind of where it's standing. And that's where we are standing. There is no thinking. Where it stands right now is the 49ers have Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad situation to be in.
No. And just, again, knowing how things have played out, how unpredictable things are, who knows what the hell is about to happen, right? Like, this is the same thing. Look at what the Cleveland Browns came out and said today. Guess what they're going to do with Baker Mayfield? Because he has no market. They're going to be patient. And you know what else? If Deshaun Watson, which, if you guys got a chance to look at his deposition video today, not good. And Roger Goodell came out today and said that he's still looking through it and they still haven't figured it out. But look at what the Browns are doing. There's no real place to send Baker. You don't cut Baker. But if Deshaun Watson gets suspended for the year, you could do worse than starting Baker Mayfield out the bat. And I feel you. Jacoby Brissett's there. All due respect to Jacoby Brissett, he's not better than Baker Mayfield. And now you have Deshaun Watson, who's going to miss a year with $1 million salary, and you have Baker Mayfield. Again, stranger things have happened. No reason to make a rash decision on March 29th. The Browns are doing the same exact thing the 49ers are doing right now, because quarterbacks do have values. We're not talking about cutting a hurt center who's making $25 million, which has never happened. Let's say a hurt linebacker who's making $25 million, right? Like that's not the same thing as a quarterback. There are many more linebackers than there are starting quarterbacks in this league. I still believe Jimmy Garoppolo is one of them. The 49ers still believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is one of them, or they're still trying to sell everyone else on the idea that he is still one of them. So in that way, you're starting to see the Browns and 49ers operate in a similar fashion, because they have their guy of the future. They're going to play it safe right now because they have no real market for either of those guys. And you don't just kick away things like that without waiting for things to develop, waiting for other dominoes to fall, insulating yourself. I completely understand this thought process right now. It took me a while to get to it, but here we are, because I'm not making this up. This is exactly what they're thinking right now at this point, because this is the only hand that they can play. This isn't the way that they wanted it to go. This is the only way for them to right now handle this thing. I'm not certain what other guys want from them. If they cut Jimmy Garoppolo, sure, they get that cap space. And you know what would be funny? If they cut Jimmy Garoppolo and they got that cap space and the 49ers sat there, didn't do a thing, and just took that money and rolled it into next year. That would make me laugh very hard because it would prove that plans really never changed, even though statements about plans have changed. So at the same time, the Browns and 49ers are showing you what they're doing right now because they have no market for either of those guys, and it would be foolish right now to cut either of them.
Yeah, no, and that's just Jason. I couldn't have said it any better. I just couldn't. So I don't know if I really need to feed off of it. You said it perfectly. The Niners are in this situation, and it's not a bad thing, and that's okay. It's consider it as a $25 million insurance policy at this point. That's the best way to look at it. And that's what it is, man. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, I think the way they said things the past couple of days, and I think that's why they were brought in is they knew how to say what they were going to say. Listen, I know everybody has their opinions on John Lynch in terms of his ability as a general manager, but more often than not, the guy says the right things. And that's why the Niners brought him in, because when the Niners brought John Lynch in, they were in a very bad PR situation. Not obviously nothing, no specific issue, but the
They need
Niners,
somebody who could work the media.
the popular, what is it? What's the poll that they release every month with the president? The popularity poll, whatever. The Niners' popularity poll was very low at the time John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were brought in. John Lynch was brought in to be the face of the franchise, the guy who talks to the media when he needs to, and Kyle Shanahan was the guy who was supposed to put the team on the right track. So that's just kind of where it is. Alex, do you know what he means by "and the locker room"?
Yeah, I guess he's talking about bringing Jimmy Garoppolo back. Look, Alex, this is a concern of mine as well. But that's a concern that we should have in August if push comes to shove in that way. And that is something I'm definitely concerned about. And it should be for everybody else at this point. Because you can't bring this guy back and then have there be a competition or anything like that, which I still think Trey would take over this job if there was an open competition and everything was set, everything was done. But yeah, it is another quote where that Kyle Shanahan said that was really important. We're missing the Jed York one, so we could finish on that one. The Kyle Shanahan quote that I really took something away from was, he wasn't ready last year to beat him out. He's ready, I think, this year, if that's the case. And he said that. That's what he said. So, again, Alex, I'm concerned about bringing him back and running it back in the camp this way because of the locker room. But again, it's March and a lot of things can change. So I still don't suspect that to be the case going forward. I think right now they're just saying all the things that they can say to keep the status quo, keep all the value up for Jimmy Garoppolo, and just keep up a united front that everybody's on the same page. Because if John Lynch says there's no way that we're cutting Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan comes out, we're cutting Jimmy Garoppolo once he gets healthy or something like that, that is such a bad precedent because you need both guys to at least to be somewhat on the same page. I felt that they were. I just felt that Kyle let things slip a little bit more about how excited he was about Trey and where he's at, because he seems to be ready to go with it as well too. And I think that everybody would have thought that this would have been resolved by now, but unfortunately this is just where we are at this point. But I hear you.
Yeah, it's literally a future problem for the 49ers. They're not too worried about it. I'm going to have to turn my camera off in a second here, but I'll say this quote. Jed York had a quote today. We'll end on this. Quote, and this was via Nick Wagner of ESPN. Quote, "I'm not the coach. I'm not the general manager. They have my authority to put the roster together as they see fit. If that's what it is, then as long as we're competing and we're winning football games, they have the ability to do what they think is the best to help us. We've made trades and we've had guys that are making a lot of money who haven't been on the field. It's easy to say your hypothetical question. Like, it's easy to go to that one, but it's not about what is one individual piece. It's what's the collective." And then he continues to say his last little bit, "If we think it's the best decision to have two guys that we think are very, very capable of winning football games and giving us a chance to win the Super Bowl, there's no position that's more important than that in all of sports. So if we're going to overinvest in something, I'd rather overinvest in the quarterback position than anything else." So there's the Jed York quote.
Yeah, and I think that shows a lot of growth from Jed. You shouldn't be applauding necessarily him not being involved, but when you realize how involved he was when things weren't going well and the step back that he took when he brought on John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, I think it shows a lot of growth. I think everybody goes through their journey differently. I don't think the 49ers need somebody who's as involved as, say, a Jerry Jones or other owners who are in on all of those things. I don't think you need that at all. And I think that right now, Jed York just gave a matter-of-fact quote, also insulated by the fact that he gave that quote the year before about we're prepared, push come to shove, 2 years of Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Obviously, I don't believe that will happen, but they can always go back and point to that quote and say, see, we told you. But At the same time, I think that you can applaud his growth without applauding the act itself, if that makes any sense. What I mean by that is owners shouldn't be involved in that sort of thing anyway. Certain owners are involved. I don't believe that they should be. You shouldn't be applauding an owner not being involved in that process, but you should be applauding the fact that he has grown out of wanting so much control, wanting to put himself into these discussions and giving his input. So I will say that, if that makes any sense at all.
I mean, you saw what happened when Jed York decided he wanted a little bit of control. It's Jim Harbaugh gets let go, and Jim Tom Sula and Chip Kelly come in, and that's the last time Jed York. And that's something. Listen, I know Jed York leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths sometimes, but what he's done the past couple of years, finally stepping back and letting John and letting Kyle be the guys of this franchise. How many Super Bowls have we won?
Hold on, I'm trying to do my math. Give me a second.
You're trying, Jason. I'll let you carry the zero.
Yeah. I'm trying to carry the 3.
What? Okay, Gary, I'll bite. What does that have to do? What does that have to do with anything? Like I get okay, sorry. Let me rephrase that, because we're here to the Niners are here to win Super Bowls, but at the same time, the San Francisco 49ers have been in a position to win a Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 seasons. We haven't seen that kind of production since Jim Harbaugh was the head coach, and I didn't see anybody questioning Jim Harbaugh like that. It's weird how that works. So, listen, I understand it. I get it. I get they haven't won a Super Bowl, but all front offices and coaching staffs are trying to do is get themselves in a position to win a Super Bowl. Not every team. Spoiler, Gary, I hope you know this. I think you're a football fan. Not everybody wins the Super Bowl every year. It's not possible, right?
Source.
And shoot, that my bad. I don't have a source to back that up. That's on me. So listen, man, I get it. You want to win Super Bowls. It's the fan perspective, and I'm a fan too. I'm not trying to talk down to anybody. It just comes down to the Niners have been in a position to win 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. Does it suck that the Niners didn't win their last game? Those the 2 of the 3 years? Yes, it absolutely sucks, but we can't pretend like just because there's a 0 in the Super Bowl column, it means it's a failure. You know who else had a 0 in the Super Bowl column? Jim Tom Sula. You know who else had a 0 in the Super Bowl column? Chip Kelly. Do we want to go back to those years? Because those zeros are not the same as Shanahan and Lynch's zeros. And that's kind of my thing.
Well, and the other thing is if you remember those bad years and where the team is right now, I understand everybody wants Super Bowls, and obviously that's what this fan base, especially the oldest segment of this fan base who remembers all of the Super Bowls, believes. Aren't we in better hands right now? I mean, when it was Chip Kelly and it was Jim Tom Sula, it was absolute chaos, right? Like, Balky was still here. It was just absolute chaos. No matter what, obviously everybody wants to win. 31 other teams don't win every single year. The 49ers had a chance to win in 2019. Cool. And I see Gary's right. Talking doesn't win Super Bowls, but we're in better hands. The core is there. I feel like even with this quarterback mess, or this quarterback situation, I don't want to say mess. Let's not get dramatic. This quarterback situation, the 49ers are still in a great spot. So I think that's all I can really say to that. But yeah, if you're talking matter of factly about how many Super Bowls they've had, you know the answer to that question. So I mean,
yeah, and I guess even too though, like talking doesn't win Super Bowl, but you know who else talked today is Sean McVay talked. They just won a Super Bowl. So everybody talks at this point. So I don't know. Are we in the best hands? No, Jerry Rice isn't the head coach, not the best hands,
Well, I mean, the thing is this. What are the best hands? Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Bucks? What are the best hands?
And that's my thing too, is all these these people want to question Kyle Shanahan. And Gary, I don't mean to pick on you, Gary. I appreciate you commenting. I appreciate that we've invoked emotions out of you to get you to comment. But Gary, and this is me taking what that comment was with the best hands. If you fire Kyle Shanahan right now, let's say Kyle Shanahan gets fired, who's better? Who's better that's available right now? Who is making the San Francisco 49ers a better team? And that's the other half of the question, right? Is who is better hands?
Though, Hendricks. But have you noticed there's something that has happened since somebody left there, and that team hasn't sniffed a Super Bowl since. I'm trying to put my finger on it. There's something that I can't remember about the Patriots. It'll come to me. I'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
It might be a future Niner quarterback. Who knows? But so yeah, listen, listen. I'm not trying to dismiss the no Super Bowl thing, like, because that's a fact. The Niners haven't won a Super Bowl. I just don't think that's the right way to judge this front office, and I don't think that's the right way to judge really any front office. Is yes, I understand at the end of the day, Super Bowls are what everybody's playing for, but one team is winning a Super Bowl. Do you think the Bengals? Do you think Bengal fans are complaining right now? Do you think Bills fans are complaining right now? Those are also because I was going to say the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have a ring to talk about. But those are two franchises that don't have rings, and they're not talking about. I mean, they might be talking about Zach Taylor like that. Zach Taylor's a little overrated, but that's kind of my point, man. Is the Niners are in a situation to be competitive every year, and that's all you could ask for. And maybe the ball bounces one way or another.
He did. He did,
sure.
but did Tom Brady, right? Like Tom Brady. Like are we in agreement that that's a once in a lifetime quarterback?
Yeah, man. Listen, it takes a lot of things. And Hendricks, he did build a dynasty. He did. That's great. I like the quick disappearance on that. He did build a dynasty, but are the Patriots the same if you remove either Brady or Belichick for those 20 years? I don't know, right? So it's tough. Listen, as I said, I get what everybody's saying here. I understand it. The Super Bowl thing, not having one, it's a bummer and it sucks. But at the end of the day, the Niners are going to be in a situation to compete again this year. And ideally, for the time being, I think I've officially lost Jason, so maybe it's time to wrap.
Oh, sorry, I'm good. I'm listening. I promise, man. I'm listening.
I know what you're still giggling at. I like it. So, but man, at this point, I'm just kind of repeating myself, so that's okay. I think we're 55 minutes.
Yeah, no, this is a good episode, and I'm glad that we did this back to back because then we don't have time to. Well, I mean, it'll be old news tomorrow, obviously. But all three spoke. I felt like that they had a unified front on certain things. I just felt that Kyle was a little bit more forthcoming with some of his answers and where his feelings are. It almost kind of happened last year when he kind of slipped up in that one press conference and said we were ready to roll with Trey after the Arizona game. Unfortunately, he was injured, and that's something that I don't think he really wanted to have out there. But sometimes he slips up like that. It could have been either that he didn't get sleep the night before, or he's still adjusting to the time. Coffee wasn't strong enough. Whatever it is that you guys want to put your conspiracy theories to, it's more about he's a little bit more susceptible to letting things come out, right? Like that's why you get quotes like, I don't know who's going to be alive, or, like he either gets frustrated or he gets a little happy and he lets things out. So that's why the Kyle Shanahan thing, while it's a little monotone, there's going to be times when,
I love him so much,
it's, I mean, you're going to see sometimes that you're going to get some quotes from him, and, we love what the guys are doing in there, and we're all committed to that. So, yeah. Sorry, I had to. I mean,
we need it. We need it every time. And Hendricks, listen, man, I don't always agree with you. I appreciate you're always in the comments. We really do appreciate you. Everybody who watches us, we love all of you.
Oh yeah, shout out to everybody. It's a discussion.
Yeah, we love it.
Thank you guys for bringing all the discussion points and everything here to it. We have the best chat. We always have the best people that view. We have the smartest people that view our shows as well. They correct us on air. They know what they're doing. So, shout out to you guys for being in here. And while you're here, about 140 people in here, just make sure you hit that like button, man, and hit that subscribe button on this channel, and consider joining the Spicy Squad because we got some things going on this week. But a shout out to all of you guys, man. Appreciate you guys for always being in here, man. You guys are the best.
Yeah, man, that Spicy Squad's pretty cool. Just to back it up, because hey, if you want a chance to talk to Jason Aponte, or if I'm here, talk to me, because I know everybody's here to talk to me. We had a couple people jump on and ask us questions, and not even just ask us questions, man. We had a couple of them on for 20 minutes just talking, vibing. So we're really, if it's something that you want to chat with us, join the Spicy Squad, because we'll take you guys in. We'll talk. We'll have whatever conversation you guys want to have. So highly recommend it. Joey, thank you very much for the comment.
Oh, the other joke. Well, can I jump on that joke? True high IQ chat we see underneath linebackers, and you have to see the safeties SAFETYS. If you get the joke, if you know, you know.
Might have to
the wristband, Andrew. The wristband, Andrew. Jimmy Garoppolo's wristband. See safeties.
Oh yes. I remember now. Thank you. I'm very good
safeties.
with. I understand jokes. I get references all the time. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. Relax, everybody. Everything's gonna be promised. I promise.
Relax. Love you guys.
Later. Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.